I can remember being in shows where you wore tights, you know, and it was quite visible when your knees were knocking. I can remember doing opening night of Richard III, you know, and for the first couple of minutes, the knees are going like this. And, you know, everybody can see it. How are you going to hide that? You can't hide that. So you have to wait and warm up, and then you get, you know, you get a second wind, maybe get your first laugh, or you get something that goes right, and then you're off and running. Then you forget it. But those first few minutes are torture.
I'm Gordon Hunt, and this is Starring the Actors, where some of your favorite performers tell you just how they do their work. Jaws, all that jazz, French Connection, all films filled with energy and excitement. And the same can be said of the acting of their star, Roy Scheider. Let's look at a scene now from French Connection. It's a scene with Roy, Gene Hackman, and Alan Weeks.
Will you stop it? Stop it! Get over, come on. Get over. Jimmy, come on, Jimmy. Let me bust one. I want to bust you. I want to bust you. Let me talk to him. Let me talk to him. You got a friend here, buddy. You got a friend. You gonna tell us who your man is?
When's the last time you picked your feet, Willie?
Who's your connection, Willie? What's his name? What? Answer him! No, man, no. Hey, no. Is it Joe the Barber? Joe the Barber, right? No. That's who it is, isn't it? Now, don't give us any shit. What's Joe's last name?
I don't know, man. Hey, all I know is he lives on 125th Street, man, above the barber shop.
What side of the street do you live on? North or south? North or south?
I don't know what you're talking about, man. No,
I'm asking you what side of the street he lives on.
Hey, shithead. When's the last time you picked your feet? Huh?
Hey, what's he talking about?
I got a man in Poughkeepsie who wants to talk to you. You ever been in Poughkeepsie? Huh? Have you ever been in Poughkeepsey?
Hey, man, come on, give me a break. Hey, I don't know what you're talking about, man.
Let me hear you say it. Come on. Have you ever been in Poughkeepsie? You've been in Poughkeepsie, haven't you? I want to hear it. Come on.
Yes, I've
You've been there, right?
Yeah.
You sat on the edge of the bed, didn't you? You took off your shoes, put your finger between your toes, and picked your feet, didn't you? Now say it.
Yes.
All right.
You put a shield in my partner. You know what that means? God damn it! All winter long, I got to listen to him gripe about his bowling scores. Now, I'm going to bust your ass for those 3 bags, and I'm going to nail you for picking your feet in Poughkeepsie.
You know, there's a very specific acting problem involved here. That was the first scene in the movie involving dialogue with Hackman and myself. Up to that, it had been physical action on the street. One guy playing Santa Claus and the other one selling hot dogs.
Yeah.
So, in this scene, we had to establish with the audience that we were 2 cops who were ruthless, knew what they were doing, had a tremendous rapport, could do that good guy, bad guy routine to terrorize Alan Weeks in that scene. So we thought in the beginning of the movie we would try to do the first scene of the movie first. Well, we tried that scene in a car, we tried that scene in a room, it didn't work. It didn't have any flow, it didn't have any rhythm. I didn't believe myself, Gene didn't believe himself. We spent 2 days trying to get that scene and said, you know what? Well, Billy said it, Freakin said. He said, you guys ain't cops yet. You're close, but you're not there yet. So then we went to something a little easier, right?
Yeah.
Shot the whole movie, came back one afternoon, shot that in about 2 hours.
Is that right?
Just a piece of cake.
Really?
Because by then we were cops. By then we really knew each other the way Grasso and Egan knew each other from working years and years and years and years together. But you can't get it in 4 weeks preparation. You just cannot be that with that ease. You can't.
You told me earlier that a lot of the work for that picture was done on the spot. In other words, that you guys went out and
It was done in the streets, and it was done at night, because I mean, I was more of a metropolitan kid than Gene Hackman was. Gene comes from the Midwest, but both of us were fairly naive about what real cop procedure was. So we'd go out with our prototypes, Sonny Grasso and Eddie Egan, and we'd go into shooting galleries where guys were shooting themselves up on the 5th or 6th floor, break the door down, and go. We didn't go in first. We were like 4th and 5th through the door.
But it was an actual bust.
Yes, it was a bust. And then we busted several taverns and hangouts, went in and pushed the guys up against the bars and took all the drugs out. Again, we were the 4th and 5th through the door. But we would go into a bar like that, and everyone would throw out the needles and the drugs and all that kind of stuff. And then one night we were leaving, and I saw one of the detectives coming out with a small little satchel. I said, "What's in there?" He said, "Oh, that's the guns." I said, "What guns?" He said, "The guns that the guys threw up on the telephone booth in the back." So when we walked in, half the place was carrying. So they got rid of the firearms while all the hullabaloo was going on. Suppose one of those guys decided to shoot his way out of there, we would have been in a lot of trouble.
I happen to be a fan of little moments, and there's a moment in that scene when he's starting in on the guy about Poughkeepsie. When you turn around and look, it's almost like you look at the camera and you break up laughing.
Yeah.
What was that?
Because I wanted the audience to know that here he goes again with that old routine. It's like I got to listen to this again, but I know how it's going to terrorize Alan Weeks. So it just makes me laugh. He makes me laugh. You see, it's like the character that Gene Hackman plays in this movie is a very egotistic, Irish, braggart, kind of a tough guy to take. But he was funny in his attitude towards police work. And he was a tremendously successful cop and with a great nose for whatever was wrong. But as a human being, boy, was he hard to take.
Yeah.
So one day I said to Grasso, I said, "My God," I said, he's really a bit much. I said, how do you put up with him? And he said to me, "Well, you know," he said, "if I didn't like Eddie, who would like him?" Did I need any more than that? That's the whole relationship.
And that's what you played in the movie.
That's what I played in the movie. You're talking about making research pay off. I mean, that one line was my spine for the whole performance.
Fabulous.
And it just came into conversation while we're having a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
So that was very lucky.
I'd like to talk a little bit about beginnings. In other words, training for an actor. Did you get much training?
Well, I did, but I got it in a strange, roundabout way. Because I was not, as a younger man, I was not a serious student of the theater. I did 3 years of extracurricular theater in college. I happened to be working with a very good director. So my training sort of was like a hobby. You know, I would work 3-4 hours a night in the theater, then do my work. But at the time, I was learning about voice, I was learning about movement, I was learning about how to form a character, how to read a play. So my early training was very, very good, but it was never constructed to be towards a career. And it wasn't until my senior year in college that I decided that not that I wanted to be an actor, but I came to the realization that I was an actor.
Really?
That I had found a place where I felt comfortable, felt good, where things in my life were beginning to come alive and to expand, and I realized it was because of my connection with the theater.
Now let's look at a scene where Roy demonstrates some of the physical demands put on an actor as he fights off a hired assassin in Marathon Man.
I had a problem there. I had a problem, and Mr. Schlesinger had a problem there. in that, you know, John is a very gifted director, but he's not necessarily a physical man. And when the time came to do this scene, I came to the set that morning, and there were two 6'7" stuntmen ripping up the set, bouncing off couches, breaking glasses, throwing chairs, and looked like a saloon brawl. And I said to John, John, this fight is between two deadly, highly paid assassins who are karate experts and probably experts in everything else. I said, when they finally face each other after the attempted garroting, I said a minute would go by before either one of them would even commit themselves to a movement, because one mistake and it's over. Well, John didn't quite understand that, and he didn't feel it would be dramatic enough. So I said, look, I think we should ask someone else. So we called up one of the producers, Sidney Beckerman. I called him up and I explained the situation. He came down and he talked to John. We had a conference, and we agreed that more time should be taken in this fight because both guys are capable of doing terrible things. But sometimes you run into that where, as the character, you intrinsically know a little bit more than the director about the real insides of the guy. And that happens about the third or fourth week of shooting.
How did you train for that? There's a lot of just plain bloody physical exertion there.
The guy who's playing the Oriental is an expert. So he and I talked over about, you know, on the day of how this fight should look. And we choreographed it together.
You did?
Yes. And I couldn't have done it without him.
Yeah.
Because he knew what he was talking about.
What about the safety precautions? I mean, I see young actors in my classes, for instance, sometimes have fight scenes, and they don't know enough to be careful, and it certainly makes me nervous.
I'm working with a professional who knows what he's doing. I would not perhaps do that scene with another actor. I would do it with a stuntman, or I would do it with a professional. But you don't want to do that kind of a fight with anyone less than an expert, because you could get very seriously hurt. And you just learn to say no.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, in the beginning, you like to think you can do all the stunts, just like the stuntman. Well, you can't.
Yeah.
Not without getting hurt.
There's another assassination in this movie. It happens to you as a matter of...
gory time.
Happens to you as a matter of fact.
Oh, yeah?
Which I'd like to take a look at now.
You're going to tell me that Chen acted on his own?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't mind you hiring him, but my brother, for Christ's sakes, did you have to involve him?
It was nothing.
It was a violation. We do not involve family. We never involve family.
Think of it as a warning, nothing more.
Think of that as a warning and nothing more.
You'd like to fight, wouldn't you? It will not happen. I'm much too old and far too smart for that. But we must talk truthfully. Are you to be trusted?
No.
Is that the truth? Or are you trying again to upset me?
I know that you're going to the bank sooner or later.
Perhaps I've already been.
If you had, you wouldn't be here talking to me, would you?
What else do you know?
I know that you're panicking. You think when you leave the bank, someone's going to rob you.
Who would do such a thing?
Obviously, you think I would.
Well, can I trust you?
You never could. You only had to.
We're talking of my safety.
May I be candid?
Yes.
I couldn't give a fuck about you.
See, I could feel that. That hurt.
That's smart. Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah.
I'll tell you something interesting about that scene. Nothing to do with the physicality of it, but there was a problem in the writing. The dialogue had been lifted right from the novel by William Goldman. And in the process of rehearsing the scene, when I would ask those quick questions of Olivier, he always would take this sort of tentative pause before he would answer me. So Schlesinger, the director, John, said, Sir Larry, you're having trouble with your lines there? And he said, no. He says, I don't understand what it is. Next day, Olivier comes in with a yellow pad, and he says, Roy, dear boy, he said, do you think you can change a few of these words for me? And I said, what do you mean? He said, you notice that the operative word, brother, diamonds, murder, promise, are all at the end of the sentence. He said, you see, what happens is, in order for me, I've got to react to the key word. And so that takes a moment or a half a second to react to it, and then I can speak. I said, wait a minute. So I took the sheet and I put brother, Jules, murder, all those words up in the first 2 or 3 words of each sentence. So I would now, instead of saying the sentence, for Christ's sakes, you told me you never were going to involve my brother. Now reads, my brother, for Christ's sakes, you promised you never would involve him. And now he can pick his cue right up, because he's already reacted to brother, which is the operative word. So now we could pick up every cue, and it goes as quickly as you see it.
Now, how did you go about slapping the world's greatest actor?
Well, that's where you really have to act, because I won't pretend that I didn't feel all the time that I was with him, that I was looking at Heathcliff, that I was looking at Hamlet, that I was looking at Richard III,
Henry V,
that I was looking at Henry V, I was looking at The Entertainer, and you know, he's an older man now, but every once in a while, a spark in the eyes, you know, that tenacity or that kind of obliqueness would come in, and I would get little jolts when I was acting with him, and I'd have to overcome that and get on with what had to be done. And William Goldman said to me one time in an elevator coming down from rehearsal, he said, what does it feel like to act with Olivier? And I said, like any other good actor. And what I meant was that when he and I rehearsed, he asked the same dumb questions, moved around just as stupidly as a rank beginner. He said, where am I coming from? What do I want? What am I saying? Who is this guy? I mean, all the rudimentary work was exactly the same as acting class 1, because you have to start at the beginning.
Yeah. One other quick question before we move along, which is that moment of impact, that physical pain, seemed to me very specific, a weapon striking you in a very vulnerable part of the body. How'd you get to that?
Well, I just took Sir Lawrence's hand and I put it right there, and I said, just move it in there. That's all. Just because at the time he was very ill.
Yeah.
I mean, he had just recovered from the prostate cancer. Now he was having some kind of a skin and muscle infection, and this is about 2 o'clock in the morning downtown, and the guy was exhausted, and he couldn't do the shot the way Schlesinger wanted it, so we had to think of something else. So I said, you just put your hand down there with that metal thing and press against the groin, and I'll do the movements, which is the way we worked it out.
Now let's look at a scene with Roy Scheider as a small-town policeman battling for survival in Jaws.
As I plotted your sense of fear throughout the movie, it was really, on close scrutiny, it was my sense of fear. And as yours grew, mine grew.
Well, in this particular film, Sheriff Brody's character is the everyman, is the audience. It's the audience feeling about water, sharks, protection of children, protection of community. And so, yes, I am the agent of the audience in this film. And the triumph, see, the final triumph is not that of the shark expert, and it's not that of the shark killer. It's every man's triumph. It's every man's opportunity to be the hero of his own life. And that he does what any normal guy would do to save his ass in this particular situation. And one reason the audience has such a tremendous release when he does kill the shark is because they feel they've done it.
Fire, you son of a bitch!
Why is there always sadness involved in triumph? Do you have an answer?
Well, I mean, I can only give you the first thing that came to my mind is that when something conquers, something must be conquered.
Yes, because something loses. That's what I was thinking as I was watching that. There's the elation of having beat this monster, but then there's also the appreciation of the monster's effort, or the creature's effort.
Yeah.
And it's like It's like winning anything, sporting event or anything. There's always an edge of sadness to it because something had to lose for something to win.
And it's interesting to me that it was captured there because there was that giant triumphant laugh.
I saw it.
And then we come back to you, and it's not so funny.
Yeah. What I'm trying to get is that tank. You see, and I'm trying, I'm not getting it. There it is. Yo, I got it. And it's even something beyond the shark. Yeah. It's like trying to throw a dart at the bullseye. You know, you get once, twice, and 3 times, and then... And it's got nothing to do with the game. It's got nothing to do with what's at stake. It has to do with just concentration on doing something. And when he puts that bullet into that tank, the first feeling is, I did it. And then the second feeling is, I did it to the shark as well. And then the third feeling is, there's no more shark. And then the fourth feeling is, there's no more shark. I mean, it's all over. I won. I won.
Wonderful stuff. Establishing a character. I mean, we talked about the fear of the police chief and Jaws and some of the others. It seems to me that you and Bob Fosse did a wonderful job of establishing
Joe Gideon.
Joe Gideon in this scene from All That Jazz.
I'm actually sitting in a chair.
Were you?
Yeah, moving along with the camera. Camera's mounted in front of the chair. And we're going towards the angel of life or death or whatever you want to call her. Okay. And this is the summing up moment for this character. This is what the movie's about. This is when Mr. Gideon knows that he's blown it. He has screwed up his priorities, and now he really sees life as being richer and more rewarding than he ever thought it was. However, with the smoking and the drinking and the abuse, he has done a very good job of killing himself. And it's too late. So in this ride, there is a lot of things going on. He's thinking about, well, you know, it hasn't been so bad. I've just experienced all these feeling of what these people feel about me. I have a few friends, not too many, a few. I've had a good life, I had a few laughs. He still has a bit of arrogance about him, but as he gets closer and closer, that arrogance begins to fade, and then he gets a little scared, and then perhaps the last feeling is, well, here goes nothing. He doesn't know into what void or what Valhalla he's going.
Yeah.
Like anyone else, he doesn't know.
How did it feel playing Fosse with him standing 2 feet away from you?
Well, it was peculiar in the beginning, but you have to understand, Gordon, that I never felt I was playing Fosse. Although the story is episodically based on things that really happened to Fosse, there is no way for me to play Fosse. There's no way for me to play Edward R. Murrow. There's no way for me to play Jacobo Timmerman. I have to play me. I can act the outside surface picture of Fosse. But what's going on inside, if it's to be honest to the camera, has to come out of my experience. So for every experience that Fosse had, including the heart attack, I had to find some similar experience in my life that brought me that kind of apprehension and terror and pain and suffering. So strangely enough, you're not seeing Fosse, you're not seeing Gideon, you're really seeing Roy Scheider.
Anything that you can share that you, about that apprehension or pain that you substituted from your own experience?
Well, as close as I've ever come to death has been a near drowning incident. And I can remember the feeling of no escape, that this is it. And in some of those some of those hospital sequences, that's what I could conjure up. That could put me in that mood of feeling that this is the end.
Did that change what happened to your body?
Oh, sure. And then you use what all actors use. One of the little tricks in this thing is that since I don't know what the pressure of a real heart attack feels like, I asked Bob, what is it like? And he said it's like a tremendous pressure on your chest. So off camera, you can't see it, you just see my face, but the production manager has his knee in my chest, and he's pressing down harder and harder and harder and harder. And I'm feeling that pain. Don't tell anybody I told you.
I won't say a word. What is an actor's job, do you think? I know it's to do the work, to convey the message and stuff, but in terms of society, is there a responsibility, or is there something that you think the actor needs to do, or I hate the word should, but is responsible for?
Well, let's start by saying that everyone can't make a living as an actor. There's a lot of other things to be done in life besides acting. However, the impulse to perform and to act is as indigenous to human beings as drinking, fornicating, or anything else. The compulsion or the need to express yourself as a creature living a life on this earth is absolutely necessary, or you'll go crazy. Now, an actor is given a golden opportunity to be all, feel all, go all, live all in the lives of other people. And along with the thrill of that is the responsibility of that. But to get up in front of people and bare yourself and to show the audience who they are. You're not showing them who you are, you're showing them who they are. And they love it, and they're paying a lot of money for it. And that's your responsibility. And when that communication works, when they hook in and say, ah, that's me, is that me? Like the three characters in Betrayal, or the sheriff in Jaws, or the guy in Marathon Man. When that happens, that's a wonderful thing. That's a community sharing that goes on there. And that is a wonderful moment. I mean, that is what it's all about. That's what any artist tries to do. And unless an actor knows that and appreciates that, then he has no self-esteem. Then acting is just like any other job. But no, it's not like any other job. You have a particular gift, a gift of mimicry. And on top of that, you lay intelligence. And on top of that, you lay a childlike belief in the make-believe. And on top of that, you lay a physicality that everyone is familiar with. You add all of those pieces, and that allows for you to make that final communication with the audience. And that's very thrilling.
So you are actor and audience.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Roy Scheider, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Thanks for joining us on Starring the Actors.